Hello everyone, Brian here. It's late June and we're starting to see some of the really warm weather that we normally get later in the year. So the past few days we saw triple digit temperatures reaching up to 106 degrees. But it looks like all the plants have done well and have made it through. They typically do, but it's always scary when we get those types of temperatures for the plants. These are Tulsi plants. They're also known as Holy Basil, and more specifically these are Thai Holy Basil, which is also known as Roma Tulsi. And here are some Krishna Tulsi starts, and here are again the Rama Tulsi or Thai Holy Basil, and these are used in the dish of minced chicken, also known as Krao gai, and that's made with holy basil, at least the authentic version. Many of the ones that you'll find at the restaurants are made with the Thai basil, which I think is probably better tasting, but I want to try an authentic tasting version, so that's why I'm growing it. Here are some Black Prince Heirloom tomatoes, and they're growing pretty well. There are two plants here, and this is one of the larger tomatoes. The one that you saw is a very normal shape tomato, and those other ones there are pretty atypical shaped for the Black Prince tomato. And it's growing along the trellis in the back, and as it gets beyond that, I'm going to train it onto the sticks or the poles that I have on it. And back here is a spider making its home in the tomato, and it's hard to see and pretty much out of focus, but spiders are pretty cool garden predators of, garden pests. So if you see spiders on your plants, don't take them off, leave them there. They'll catch a lot of the little tiny caterpillars. Here's another one. So anything you can do to encourage spiders and let them stay is better for you and your plants. But once again, these poles are left here to not only support the trellis but also give the tomatoes another place to climb on. Right next to the Black Prince tomato, if I can clear all these leaves for you, is another Black Prince tomato. It's a younger one. I sowed it a little bit later, and I just noticed recently that I missed one of the suckers, and the suckers that I missed, it has grown to be a pretty big plant. But nonetheless, I'm going to remove it, because with Indeterminate Tomatoes, when the suckers are removed, the plant is happier because it can direct more of its energy to producing bigger tomatoes. So this is bigger and thicker than I can break off. It's pretty elastic at this point. So just to give you an illustration of suckers, but also when they get to a certain size, they're better off pruned by some bypass pruners. Moving down are more tomatoes. These are heirloom Italian Roma tomatoes, and these are the determinate type of tomatoes where you don't want to sucker them, and you actually want a lot of suckers because that's where the tomatoes are produced from. And since these tomatoes don't get very big, they're better off being left, the suckers that is, on the plant, because then you'll get more tomatoes. So it's more of a quantity versus quality, and by quality I mean size of tomato. Down here are some Artichoke beans that I grow for nitrogen fixing and also seed saving. Just inspecting this tomato, I noticed some blossom end rot, and that tomato just fell off by touching it. So if you see black tips on tomatoes, it's not a very good sign. Could be that it has a deficiency of calcium in the soil, or if there has been irregular watering. I'm hoping it's the latter because it's harder to add calcium to the soil now, but I can fix and make sure the watering is consistent. Behind these tomatoes are more tomatoes, and these are Indeterminate tomatoes, and my hope was that they would have grown a little bit faster and taller and out of the shade of the Roma tomatoes, but that's not the case. I'm going to leave them in here just to see what will happen to them, but right now it doesn't look like they'll produce big tomatoes for us. These are beefsteak tomatoes, and they're probably going to end up being cherry-sized tomatoes, but we'll see. Hopefully not. Here is another beefsteak tomato. I'm looking for signs of pests, and so far there hasn't been any black dots on the leaves, which means that we haven't had any hornworms on the plants yet. So keeping our fingers crossed, but always vigilant about looking for signs of pests. This is a togarashi pepper, which is Japanese for chili pepper. This is one of the newer types of peppers that I'm growing this year. And over here is a jalapeno pepper. What I was trying to illustrate with my fingers is when you cut them in half, you can encourage lateral growth, which will also make for more peppers. So on this pepper plant, I cut it in half, and what happened was a bunch of lateral growth happened. The plant became more bushy, and there are a lot of blossoms. And behind the jalapeno pepper is this black beauty eggplant, and it's got one blossom. Eggplants are a newer type of plant that I'm growing, and I'm hoping to see an eggplant from this bed this year. In front are some carrots. I like growing carrots because they can stay in the ground for a long time, and I can harvest them as I need them. And I'm going to harvest a carrot for you. These are Kuroda Carrots. It's an Asian variety. It's also an heirloom plant. And what I like to do is I like to sow them and thin them out as they grow. So here's a Kuroda carrot. So as you thin them out, in the beginning you'll get smaller carrots, and they're fun to eat because then you can make a dish and include them. And with small carrots, they feel like you're at a fine dining restaurant. So moving along to this next planter are some scallions, and these are Tokyo long white heirloom scallions. Down here I have some snapdragons. I'll show you what they look like when they bloom, but in the meantime I'll keep that a secret. There are other plants here that I won't go into detail because they're being grown for the Gardens of America project, where there are videos on, and be sure to check those out. Down here is a borage plant. I sowed a bunch of them down here. I was hoping that they'll grow a little bit thicker. If it looks like it's been chewed up, it has. My tortoise likes to nibble on them. Here are some more scallions. These are actually shallots. These are French heirloom Zerbroon shallots. These are actually the runts, and I like to grow things, and I hate to get rid of the runts, so I try to find a place for them. That was a Thai bird-eye chili pepper. Here are some parsley, and those are good companion plants. I just, never enough dirt, just put some seeds down. That was an Abigail's coffee okra that's being grown for Gardens of America project. This is a Kalankic melon, also another plant grown for Gardens of America project. And sandwiched in between the Kalankat melons are some Black Prince tomatoes. These are, I think there are 3 plants here. And on this side of the bed are some more Italian Roma tomatoes. I'm trying to actually grow a lot of tomatoes, Italian Roma tomatoes, and see if I can make salsa out of them. These are Ziwang Sweet Watermelon. That's also for the Gardens of America project. Here are some sunflowers, and they're actually grown for this pole bean to climb on. And the pole bean is a powder star pole bean. They're being grown for the Gardens of America project, and there are some beans there. So moving along to the back is another sunflower. Again, it's being grown for the beans to climb on. And here is another Black Prince tomato. Here's another one. So hopefully, here's a little tiny Black Prince tomato. Hopefully they'll do well. I put a lot of good soil amendments in this planter, so it should support the density. As far as sun, I think there's enough, but we'll see how the plant grows. And I wanted to show you the artichoke blooms that are in the back. They're huge. I left a couple of artichokes to blossom. Artichokes that I left were about the size of a tennis ball, and I wanted to see how big the flowers would look. So that's the update on the raised planters. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. And once again, thanks for visiting me in my garden, and I'll catch you next time. Happy gardening!